Haku is not just a river god. Hidden in his name is a certain god from Japanese mythology. And this god was not destroyed. He survived by serving a new ruler. Haku lost his river, he lost his name, and he was forced to work under Yubaba. This is not just fantasy. Haku may be a symbol of ancient Japan, swallowed by civilization. In this video, I will explain Haku's true identity from a Japanese perspective. First, let's organize what many people already know about Haku. For many viewers, Haku is a beautiful dragon boy who helps Chihiro. His name was taken by Yubaba, and he was working as her servant. At the end of the story, we learned his true identity.
その川はもうマンションになって埋められちゃったんだって。その川はね、琥珀川。ありがとう。私の本当の名は右早見琥珀主だ。
He was the master of the Kohaku River. In other words, Haku is not human. He is the river itself. But that river had already been filled in. It had disappeared from the real world. Now this is where the real story begins. In the English dub, Haku's identity is translated simply as the spirit of the Kohaku River. But in the original Japanese version, he gives a much longer name. His true name is Nigihayami Kohakunushi. Kohaku means the Kohaku River, where he once belonged. And Nushi means something like a master or spirit that belongs to a certain land or part of nature. So Kohakunushi means something close to the master of the Kohaku River. But the most important part is the first part, Nigihayami. The film never explains this name, but to Japanese ears, this name reminds us of an ancient god. That god is Nigihayahi. Nigihayahi is an old god from Japanese mythology. In this story, he can be seen as a symbol of the local beliefs and ancient gods of the land that existed before central rule spread across Japan. He was already ruled in the land of Yamato. Then Jimmu, who later became the first emperor of Japan, came to that land. Jimmu tried to rule it as a new leader, but Nigihayahi did not fight him. He chose to follow Jimmu. So Nigihayahi was not a god who was destroyed. He was absorbed into the new order, and he survived. This is where he overlaps with Haku. Haku was also originally a god connected to a specific place, the Kohaku River. But that river was filled in. People forgot it, and Haku's name was taken by Yubaba. Now he works inside a system of the bathhouse. So Haku is a god who lost his land and his name. But he still survived by being absorbed into the system that controls him. That is why Haku is not just a river god. Haku is a symbol of Japan's old nature beliefs being swallowed by civilization. In Japan, there is an old feeling that gods can dwell in mountains, rivers, trees, rocks, rice fields, and the land itself. But as Japan became more civilized, many local beliefs and connections with nature were slowly overwritten and forgotten. That loss is written into Haku's name. Of course, I'm not saying that Haku is literally Nigihayahi itself, but I also do not think this similarity in the name is just a coincidence. In Hayao Miyazaki's films, I do not think names are chosen randomly. Especially in Spirited Away, names are one of the central themes of the entire story. For example, in my grandfather's village, there was an old historical shrine connected to local community. But recently, after my great-uncle passed away, there was no one left to take care of it. Now it has become an abandoned shrine. I moved from the countryside to Tokyo when I was young, so I actually cannot speak about this from superior position. I am also part of the generation that left those places behind. But that is exactly why Haku feels real to me. Haku's kindness is not simply romantic love. To me, it feels closer to the nature of water itself. Water gives life to others. In East Asian thought, nature, especially rivers, has often been respected as something that gives. This is especially true in Japan. For a long time, Japanese life was centered around rice farming, and rivers brought the most important thing for rice farming: water. Laozi, the founder of Taoism in China, once said that the highest good is like water. Water benefits all things without fighting against them. I think Haku's love and kindness come from this East Asian view of nature as something that gives. Haku is not just a dragon boy, he's the spirit of the Kohaku River. So why does the spirit of a river appear as a dragon in the first place? In East Asia, dragons are deeply connected to water. They are not just fantasy monsters, they are beings of rivers, rain, clouds, and water itself. And in Japan, there has long been a belief that snakes are connected to water gods. Snakes live near water, and their long bodies reminded people of rivers and whirlpools. Also, because snakes shed their skin, they were connected to the image of rebirth. This snake worship overlapped with the image of dragons that came from China, and over time, it became connected to the belief in dragon gods. So Haku appearing as a dragon is not just a beautiful fantasy design. For Japanese people, dragons can also symbolize awe and respect toward nature. As Geneva says, dragons are kind and foolish. In this film, water is shown as something that gives unconditional love, but at the same time, it is also something that can be easily polluted by humans. Haku is a forgotten river god. So why is a forgotten river god shown as such an important being? Why does he help Chihiro? And why does Chihiro have to save him? I think it is because this film shows that human beings need a connection with nature in order to remain human. In the world of overeating, consumption, and materialism, people lose their sense of reality when they are cut off from nature. They chase short-term pleasure. They forget who they are. They even lose their own names. Chihiro is thrown into that world, but little by little, she gets herself back. She gets hungry, she eats, she works, she sleeps, she helps someone else. By using her body and interacting with the world directly, Chihiro slowly remembers who she is. And Haku is the one who reminds her of that feeling. On the other hand, Yubaba and the bathhouse are the symbol of civilization itself. Yubaba controls others by taking away their names. The gods who come to the bathhouse also do not feel like the great gods from central Japanese mythology. They feel more like local visiting gods and folk beliefs from different religions of Japan. Some of them even reminds me of Namahage, our traditional ritual from Akita Prefecture. Today, Namahage is often seen as something like an Oni or demon, but originally Namahage was a visiting god who came to the land. In other words, the bathhouse is a place where even old gods are absorbed into the service industry of civilization. Haku and Chihiro try to help each other not because of a contract, but because of kindness. That is why their actions move the hearts of people living in that harsh world. Thank you for watching. On this channel, I'm gonna cover more Ghibli films and anime. If you want to learn about the cultural background behind Japanese pop culture, please subscribe. See you in the next video.